on a secluded island. The film begins with a person called Badrick saying hello to people. Then he heads towards his friend Colm's house. He knocks on the door, but Colm doesn't open. He turns to the window to invite him to the bar, but Colm doesn't have to. Badrick leaves for his home. His sister Kayaban asks him why you are at home. Badrick replies that Colm does not want to open the door. His sister tells him that maybe Colm no longer loves you. Then Badrick heads towards the bar. He asks for a glass and then the bar owner asks him about his friend. Badrick tells him that Colm does not want to come with me. He only smokes at his house. The innkeeper advises him to go back and get his friend. He goes back to his girlfriend's house, but he's not there. Then he sees his friend from the window. He asks himself that you are going. Badrick returns to the bar and finds his friend there, but Colm tells him to find another place to sit. The innkeeper informs Colm that he is sitting in Badrick's place. Colm stands and sits outside the bar. The owner of the bar and his friend, Badrick, asks, "Did you argue with Colm?" Brendan denies your argument and decides to have an event with Colm. Colm asks if Ed did something that worried him. Colm replies, "You didn't do anything to me, but I don't love you anymore." Badrick asks curiously, "But you loved me yesterday." Then Badrick sits in his house with sadness on his face. Then his sister tells him Mrs. McCormick is coming. Brandon, I don't care. This is your house either. In the evening, Badrick annoys his friend, his sister, so she has to take him out of the house. Badrick enters the bar and finds his friend enjoying the violin. The bar owner tells him that women love Colm. Brandine denies that. Badrick's new friend Dominic asks, if we sat next to Colm, would the women follow our lead, too? Badrick rejects the idea now that Colm is no longer his friend. Then Badrick and his friend Dominic sneak into his father's house. They steal from a bottle of whiskey. After they drank, Dominic asks Badrick if he saw his sister naked before. Badrick gets upset and tells him that he does not like these topics and that he is sad about his friend Colm. Dominic leaves in agitation as well. In the morning, Badrick greets Colm, but Colm does not obey him. Badrick tries to sit next to his friend at the bar, but Colm tells him to get out of his face because he's boring. Badrick, Colm, don't act like a child today, too. Badrick leaves. Then his sister comes, trying to defuse the situation, but to no avail. Then they meet Dominic, his face full of blood. The latter was beaten by his father when he discovered that he had stolen his bottle of whiskey. In the morning, he gives Colm an ultimatum that every time Badrick disturbs him, he will cut off his finger with sheep shears. The night drunk Badrick confronts Colm at the bar and he apologizes. Colm fulfills his promise and cuts off his finger and hands it over to Badrick. As tensions simmer, Mrs. McCormick warns Badrick of death. Then Badrick's sister decides to leave the island. Badrick is left alone, which makes him trick one of Colm's musician friends into leaving the island. Then Badrick confesses to Colm about what he did. Colm cuts off all his fingers in response and throws them in front of Badrick's house. Then Badrick finds his beloved donkey dead after he was choked on Colm's finger. Badrick is very sad about the death of his donkey. Colm was told that he would burn down his house. On the second day, Badrick sets the house on fire and takes Colm's dog to safety while Colm is sitting inside the building. The cop, Dominic's father, goes to Badrick's house, but McCormick leads him to his son's body floating in the lake. In the morning, Madame Dominique sits in front of the bonfires and watches. Colm regrets the death of Badrick's donkey and tells him that the house fire caused their quarrel.